Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 18 of the Crypto Hipsters Curtain Calls. Episode 18, More Than a Feeling? Reimagining sports betting through decentralization. This Crypto Hipsters compilation is based on 3 episodes. Usually my podcast, my compilation podcasts have been based on 4 episodes. This one's based on 3 episodes. The first interview was with Mr. Blue. Mr. Blue and I spoke in season 8. We spoke about exploring the future of decentralized sports betting with data-driven intelligence and smart leverage. My second interview on this compilation was from season 7. So Mr. Blue is from season 8. And then from season 7 is with Kyle Postmaster. He calls himself Postmaster. Kyle Post, while Karate Combat is appealing to the younger generations and how fans and influencers can drive the future of game streaming forward. Mr. Blue is one of the founders of LEVR.bet. Kyle Postmaster is a developer at Karate Combat. He's also a player on Up Only Gaming. If you haven't had the chance to check out Up Only Gaming, there are a lot of great rewards in that, being a player, and we talk about those. And then my third interview from season 6 is with Peter Argerakis. He is the CEO and co-founder of Six Sigma Sports, and we spoke about reimagining sports book betting by enabling users to be the house. And that was from season 6. That was from September 2023. So together, these 3 interviews make up episode 18 of the Crypto Hipsters Curtain Calls. More Than a Feeling? Reimagining sports betting through decentralization. These 3 podcasts are amazing episodes. They're the only 3 that we talked about sports book and betting. So I wish there were a 4th through the past 3 seasons. There were not. But these 3 podcasts are amazing in their own right. Please check them out. The individual episodes on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Anchor, any iHeartRadio, anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Feel free to check them out, and then listen to the clips on this episode so that you can get a sense of some of the delightful and wonderful topics we talk about during our individual podcasts. Sit back, enjoy, and I'll see you on the next episode 19, where we go into entertainment. See you soon. You claim the world is ready for a sports betting or revolution, right? I want to see what that revolution is going to be like going through, and what you see as the end result of this revolution.
I mean, I think you're seeing the beginning phases of it. It really started with the 2020 lockdowns, where people move online in a lot heavier degree. You saw a large, sharp spike in online betting right that same time, right? And with that, you see DFS, you see pick'ems, you see parlay shops, you see people pushing the limits of licensing and boundaries on that front, with these different types of new betting experience. And you see traditional brick and mortars and casino providers kind of struggling to keep up. And now all of a sudden, you got a FanDuel's or a DraftKings that are the largest operators in the space, whereas they were just a niche kind of bet play when they started. I see similar stuff coming from Web3. Shout out to the prediction market space right now. You look at that is catching fire, and it's becoming known as a source of value in the real world outside of crypto. And I think a product like Lever has that chance. Our plan long term is to use the infrastructure and backbone of Web3 to create a product that we can scale into retail, where retail doesn't know that the backbones underlying it are blockchain. They just know that it works and they can get leveraged bets down. And so I look at stuff like that as we're now at the time where account abstraction, payment rails, multi-chain infrastructure, blockchains that can house performant order books. The technology is there in a real tangible way now for us as builders to get products into the hands of retail that isn't going to fail in some method that could have been prevented from the tech stack. And that's super exciting to me as a builder, because it means if I build something great, I can get it into the right hands and we can start taking blockchain to the masses.
I think you said the key word to getting the blockchain to the masses is they don't need to know it's on blockchain. They just need to have it work.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Like, you don't know. This is the best explanation of this type of thing that I've ever thought, right? I'm deep in blockchain. You're deep in blockchain. Probably everybody that's going to listen to this conversation is deep in blockchain. Remove yourself from that aspect and look at it from a normie. Do they know how internet works? Do they know how an email gets from point A to point B? Do they know how a text message sends? Do they know how the credit card swipe does anything? Absolutely not. All they know is it works. That's what we need for blockchain. These products just need to work, and they need to work better because they're in Web 3 than they could have in Web 2.
I agree with that 100%. Um, I I look at, the sports industry, not the sports betting industry, but the sports industry right now, and I see some things. I see less interest in football and baseball. I see a shifting demographic. I see, younger people who do use Web3 who are not into sports. How do you see the lay of the land as far as the shifting demographics, and what are the risks involved with the sports betting in the future because of it?
Let's work backwards on that. The risk is always not staying ahead of where the curve is going, right? And not having the product ready that the users want to participate in. And so I see the landscape, and I think baseball is a perfect example of this. It used to be one of the most beloved sports in the United States, and not just in our neck of the woods, but in the entire world. Baseball was a phenomenon. You talk about stuff like the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Giants and the Dodgers. These are storied rivalries, great entertainment. That stuff is just dropping off. It's becoming old. It's becoming stale. And you can say it's the game and the pace of the game. In reality, in my opinion, heavy what it is they haven't adapted to the technological innovations of the time, right? You look at something like NBA that's gained speed and steam here over the last few years. They are hard into social media. They are hard into clips, into video game contests on NBA 2K and things like that. I don't even know what the great MLB game is right now. I know it used to be 2K. I know it's not anymore, right? So I look at stuff like leagues that are able to keep touch with the times and integrate new technologies and stay ahead of things on that front are what are going to be successful and what new users are going to adapt into. Because eventually everybody who's watching baseball right now is going to be dead, right? And there's going to be a whole new crop of people. That means everybody who's betting on baseball right now is going to be dead. There's going to be a whole new crop of people. And so how do you prepare for that future? You get ahead of things, right? And so part of that for us is looking at things like esports, like F1 racing. Cricket is a huge one that we're trying to move into. And it's UFC is another one that is gangbusters right now in betting. And so we want to stay ahead of those trends and watch where the sports leagues are going, so that maybe we spend a little bit less focus on something that's dying out and a lot more time and attention on something that's coming up.
So I want to talk about karate combat. What is that all about, and including, the up only system?
All right. Karate Combat was born about 6 years ago. Although Karate Token is only 1 year old now, the league developed first. And a good friend of ours, he's still doxxed. We call him Only LARPing. Him and his college roommate, Adam, they got together and started off Karate Combat as kind of a project to get into Web3. So they always had the idea of turning a karate league into a governance token. However, it took them a little bit to build the league. So about a year ago, Karate Token was born off the league. They finally had I'd say about 40 events or so, or maybe 35 events or so. with really high level karate guys. Like they scoured the globe to find high level black belts. They only invited black belts into it, and kind of created a hierarchy system of who needed to fight. They got the titles involved, almost created, this league. And then they introduced karate tokens. So 77 billion tokens were born on Ethereum, and 33 billion tokens were born on Hedera. So there was a web application built that you can visit on your computer, your PC, and there was a mobile application built that you can use on your Android or Apple device. The Android and Apple devices run on Hedera. The web is run on Ethereum. So that's the differentiation there. You can also buy these tokens on several exchanges to use. So the token now, being incepted, governs the rules of the league, of course, within the unified mixed martial arts rules. So anybody that are holding these tokens now has a chance to go on the governing website and propose a rule change. For example, we've changed the size of the gloves. The gloves started off at 6 ounces. I guess that wasn't enough blood for everybody. We changed it down to 4. And it happened within, the rule was proposed within a few weeks. We all voted on it. It's token weighted. Whoever's holding the most tokens kind of has a little bit of weight in their vote. But as we go on, of course it spreads out a little bit over the holders as the value gains, as more people comes in. It kind of becomes more of a fair governance system. However, right now, there's been about, I'd say 10 or so rule changes to the league, and a few rule changes actually to the token itself. So the token model is also governed by the token holders. So there's a few different utilities involved with the token that are attached to the actual league. The third utility that I'd like to talk about is my favorite utility out of all of it, and that's the leaderboard. This is underlooked by everybody because it was kind of just introduced a few months ago. Because the league is actually not owned by anybody, it's an ownerless entity and governed by the token holders. There's a board that oversees the governing site, but they really have promised the token holders that they're going to implement to their best ability everything that the token holders propose. So the leaderboard is basically the kickbacks that the owners would typically get in a sports league, the box seats, the best seats in the house. They're going to kick all of that back to the token holders themselves. So I'm one of the top token holders, but you have to actually play the game, Up Only Gaming, to get on this leaderboard. The more tokens you win, the higher up on the leaderboard you get, and the more kickbacks you're going to get for playing. So the top 10, those guys get free VIP pit side tickets to every single event. They're flown out. They get a fighter hotel stay, the same as all the fighters are staying at. They get tickets to the after parties. They get special invites to all sorts of different pre-fight conferences and events. They get the full gear from head to toe, the sweaters, the gi, the belts, the gloves, everything basically that karate has. They get the whole package. So you can imagine that the value that would add. UFC, one VIP ticket is $2,000 to sit, and you're still 15 feet back from the cage. If you guys would like to scour my Twitter, I'll show you how close you actually get in the pit. You get splashed by blood and sweat. It is not like seeing an MMA fight behind a cage. This is a much better wall of view, and a much more valuable seat, because I got to touch Joe Rogan. He walked right by me, shook my hand, said my name. I got to walk around the pit. You're not at special seating. You get to walk around with the who's who of everybody. So for me, I'm kind of building my social media influencer followers. So for me, this is almost a ticket straight to the top of stardom, really, because I get to go to every event. I get to rub elbows with all the social media influencers that are already pit side, that already have huge followers. I get to see guys like Joe Rogan, potentially talk to him, potentially interview him, right? Like it's a big gift is what they're giving their token holders. And I think that it's one of the most valuable things that people should consider when playing up-only gaming.
In crypto, there's a saying, and this is particularly true with like exchanges like Binance and others. Say, don't bet against the house, right? What's the danger in betting against the house, and how have these dangers grown or subsided over the years, both in sports betting and in crypto, would you say?
Yeah, I'd say that setting "don't bet against the house" really is based on the understanding that the odds are in the house's favor over the long term, and that's basically that's the market, that's the rules. The other way to look at it, instead of "don't bet against the house," is the house always wins, right? You hear that as well. The house always wins. So I think now, maybe it wasn't always true, but in mature markets where sports betting has become a very popular form of entertainment, I think now most people would understand that those odds, that advantage, also known as the VIG or the vigorish, that profit is built into the odds a user sees. So when a user goes on a sports betting app, the app might not be charging them an explicit fee, but sports books make money over the long run by overcharging for the probability of an event given the odds. And that profit is built into the odds. What we're doing is we are reimagining that model by recreating it with this technology, but we're also introducing the feature of allowing the user to participate at those odds as the house. So the user can step into the shoes of a sportsbook operator and actually benefit from that implied VIG that's built into the odds. And we're doing it in a way where we most closely replicate the actual positioning of a sportsbook, which is unique. And I'll have to nerd out a little bit here to explain why that's unique and how other people sometimes actually use the phrase "be the house." Because up until now, it was relevant to describe some other activity because it was the closest comparison. So a lot of times you'll hear the phrase "be the house" when discussed by betting exchanges, for example. And betting exchanges exist in the traditional industry, and there are startup betting exchanges built on that model based on blockchain as well. And by betting exchange, we mean an application that facilitates P2P betting, as opposed to one centralized sportsbook house or operator that you're going against. And sometimes you'll hear the house phrase used in that context simply because a user can make a price, right? So if you can make your own price, people loosely say, well, that's like being the house. In reality, though, that doesn't give you the benefits of being the house, because the benefits of being the house are much more nuanced than that. It's not just about being able to make your own price, which we believe that most of the your average retail user that is sports betting for entertainment is probably not that even interested in doing, right? They want to pick a directional winner. They want to bet on their favorite team. They don't want to be too preoccupied with building a spreadsheet and a model to determine if the right odds are 1.3 or 1.32. So what we do is we allow the user to participate not just on the pricing, but to actually benefit from the positioning of the house. And what do I mean by the positioning of the house? So being the house is not just about making your own price. Being the house is also about how you can offset risk and offset flow coming in on both sides of a bet, right? Which is not easy at all to do in any current application. And the way we do it is by, we've created an order book on the house side. So basically a way for you to participate and enter a queue of participation on the house side of the order book. So that order book then manages each user's engagement. And if you were to, for example, provide liquidity on a specific bet coming up, and let's say it was a money line, it was a win-loss draw on a football match, and it was Chelsea versus Man U, and you're first in the queue, and you take a bet on Chelsea. And let's say you take as much liquidity as you can provide on Chelsea. The order book keeps you in priority for the queue to then take the next bet that comes in on Man U or a draw. So you are actually positioned, should the activity and the flow come, right? You are positioned to actually benefit by being able to offset that risk. Now, it's not guaranteed. It really depends on the betting activity that's there. But for you to try and recreate this on any existing platforms would be quite challenging, probably impossible, because the times that we've tried it, you're actually blocked from either using offsetting bets or there are other impediments to doing so. And then if you were to extrapolate that to the next level, which is, let's say the sports book is very active and you take on a series of bets to your capacity, and everyone in the order book does, and you have offsetting risk. So, when you have offsetting risk, what does that allow you to do? It frees up capital, because, if you took a bet from John and you took an offsetting bet from Peter, well, you can step in between, and no matter what the outcome is, you'll take money from one and you'll pay out the other, right? So that frees up the capital that you initially used to take those bets. And what we allow is, should we have enough flow that the liquidity that's available in the order book gets used, you actually get positioned to recycle your initial capital. So, and take on additional bets to the extent you have previous offsetting risk. So I probably went a little down a rabbit hole there, but what we are allowing to just, I felt I needed to a little bit to just illustrate how this is a feature for sports bettors to engage with that you can't replicate elsewhere. And this actually puts you as closely as possible into the shoes of a sports book market maker, of an operator.